The arrests and pro-Palestinian encampment takedowns are continuing at college campuses across the country, with UC Irvine being the latest to clear out protesters. Some pretty tense moments on the campus last night as police in full riot gear lined up to pull down tents and remove barriers. Law enforcement from across the region were called in after reports that protesters had taken over a building. 50 people were arrested after they refused to leave, among them students and faculty members who say they were doing nothing wrong.
I'm only a student. Look at what they're doing to us. We did nothing wrong. We just stood there and they had to run in with their guns, their tear gas, their riot gear. Are you serious?
Also in California, the president of Sonoma State University has been placed on leave after he promised protesters that that school would boycott Israeli colleges. President Mike Lee negotiated with protesters and published a letter on Tuesday saying the school would become the first in the nation to refuse to work with Israeli academic institutions. The chancellor of the California State University system called Lee's move insubordination, though she stopped short of calling it outright anti-Semitic. She wrote, in part, quote, "I want to acknowledge how deeply concerned I am about the impact statement that on the Sonoma State community and how challenging and painful it will be for many of our students and community members to see and read. The heart and mission of the Cal State system is to create an inclusive and welcoming place for everyone we serve, not to marginalize one community over another." Now, also at this hour, after a lengthy standoff, police have moved in and begun to clear a condemned building at UC Berkeley that pro-Palestinian protesters took over just yesterday. Trace?
Marianne, thank you. Let's bring in Cal Irvine students. Senator Beto Mendez, the founder of Lest People Forget, Elizabeth Pipko, and the president of Students Supporting Israel, Ilan Sinelnikov. Thank you all for coming on, and we appreciate it. Beto, to you first. You say the protesters at UC Irvine don't appear to be students, most of them.
Yeah, so what I see is there's a lot of middle-aged looking agitators just coming in who cause chaos at the campus, take over the physical science building, and it's just very chaotic right now.
Yeah.
Or yesterday.
Yeah, Ilan, I'm just, I'm going through your talking points, and it's interesting that you say that you're hearing about Jewish students who are being threatened. What are you hearing? Don't say any names, but what are you hearing about that?
Yeah, Jewish students at DePaul University and other places across the country are being threatened. Sometimes they're being told that they're going to be killed. They're afraid to go to class. We don't need to go far. We see what happened at DePaul University when kitchen knives, a gun were found in the encampment sites, a bowling ball that was probably meant to hit the protesters or hit some people or the police. And this is the problem we're dealing with. It's dangerous, and we are dealing with criminals on our college campuses.
Yeah, and Elizabeth Pipko, to you, I mean, the universities are complicit in this. The Washington Examiner writes the following: just as you don't negotiate with terrorists, universities should not be negotiating with terrorists, sympathizing, entitled students throwing tantrums on issues about which they understand nothing. And yet they are negotiating, Elizabeth.
They are. Look, understand nothing is the key point there. You were showing some of the imagery there from some of these universities. I was looking through it before the show, and I saw a lot of signs that said, Zionism equals terrorism, or we stand against Zionism, because these protesters believe that doesn't equal anti-Semitism. What they're missing is the fact that Zionism at one point was simply the dream that Jewish people might have a state where they'd be safe from persecution, the persecution they had faced for centuries, right? Unfortunately, that dream only came to fruition after 6 million Jews were slaughtered. Yeah. And today, Zionism has become terrorism, apparently, to these students who have no idea what it is that they're speaking about and are proving their ignorance day by day.
Again and again and again, you ask them and they do not know what they're talking about. Beto, back to you. The administration, the college administrators, I know at UC Irvine, they just seem to be moving so slowly. What are you feeling?
Yeah, right now the administration yesterday definitely was moving very slowly. They let it happen for 17 whole days until it finally escalated to this point, and then they finally called in the police department.
About time, right? Ilan, tell me the goal of your group.
Our goal is to make sure that we are winning this fight on our college campuses. We're talking about the future of your children on the college universities and the higher education system in this country. We cannot afford to lose this fight and have our universities being hijacked by radical voices, by extremists, by terrorists. We want to make sure that we are fighting for the future of this country, for the future of our campuses, and the future of our education system, to make sure that students can go to class and get their education, and they don't need to deal with everything around it. They can just go to school and be the best they can be.
Yeah, and you just can't take away some other students' rights because you want to protest. The Hill, Elizabeth writes the following here: while colleges have historically championed free thought and dialogue, recent years have seen a decline in constructive discourse and a rise in political intolerance. I mean, it really has become true when you talk about even a year ago where conservative speakers were shouted down, that college students no longer allowed dissent, and we're seeing it every single day now.
We are, and what's crazy is we're seeing it in the one place where we shouldn't be seeing it, right? I graduated just last year from the University of Pennsylvania, imagining now, 365 days later, that I could have been on campus being shouted down, God forbid being attacked, like some of these other students, terrifies me. I can't imagine that we've gotten to this point. I can imagine Ilan, both, and I, we're here as children of parents from the former Soviet Union. We know what it means when you're scared to go on college campuses. We know what it means when you're scared to be Jewish. We know what it means to fight for free speech, because you don't know how it is around the world where people do not have that. And to see us both on this panel tonight having to have this conversation after everything our families went through is absolutely ridiculous.
Yep, and you are going to see this go from the college campuses as the summer goes on into the cities, and we will see much more of this. Beto, Ilan, Elizabeth, thank you all for coming on. Very much appreciate your opinions.